Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Out and About in the UK, coming to you today from the Mall Galleries here in the heart of central London. We're here for the Art of a Nation exhibition, which is exhibiting part of the amazing AIB collection. But first we're off to Pinner in northwest London to catch up with Mayo native and highly regarded greyhound trainer Seamus Gaughan to find out more about his life here in London and his passion for greyhound racing. Seamus, thanks so much for inviting us along here to your beautiful home here in Pinner. You've been involved in greyhound racing here for many years. Tell us a bit more.
When I was 12, I went to a wedding, my cousin's wedding in Ballina, and there was a guy there and he said to me, would I like to go and see dog racing? So it was coursing actually that was going on there. Well, I left Mayo, a place called Dohoma in 63, and in 67 got my first dog, and in 72 got my license, and I have a trainer's license ever since then. Been very lucky along the way, you know what I mean, have a lovely wife and 4 kids and 10 grandchildren.
Not bad.
Not too bad. I'm 48 years married this year. So I'm been going to the dogs for 48 years, so how she put up with it, I do not know.
So are the dogs the secret to a happy marriage?
So the dogs, you know what I mean? The dogs could be the secret, you know what I mean? As long as your partner or your wife is interested, you know, you have it's great social life at the weekend.
You've been at the forefront of greyhound racing here and at the top of the game here in Britain for many, many years, and you have some big winners over the years. Tell us about those.
Yeah, well, we had a lot of success, like, you know, with very cheap dogs I got of other trainers that wasn't a lot of good, and went on and won several races. Had a great life in the dogs, like, you know what I mean? As I say, it goes back to 67. I wouldn't change it for the world, like. In the morning, the 2 spoons of baby milk with some hot water, 2 Weetabix, right? Yes. And a spoon of honey.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Then I change their diet every second or third morning. Then the next morning they might only get a tin of sardines or a tin of mackerel. Mm-hmm. And with the vitamins, there's certain vitamins they get that comes from Australia. I use ACE, which is it's a Sprinter Gold. It's a vitamin that they recover a lot quicker after a race. Mm-hmm. So
that's breakfast over.
That is breakfast over. Yes. So then about 2:30 it's dinner time.
And you know, we mentioned there before when we were speaking earlier on about animal welfare. How important is that within the greyhound world?
Well, in this last 8 or 10 years, the GBG has located about 3 million a year to the animal welfare. Now they've set up kennels all over the country, like sanctuaries for dogs when they get injured and they're retired, to go and there until they're rehomed, or they can stay there for the rest of their life. And these dogs are very, very well looked after. There's no animal cruelty anymore. Dogs are really looked after.
Seamus, just earlier on there you were manipulating the dog's limbs and stretching, giving him a stretch. Tell us about the chart here and about the anatomy of the greyhound.
I mean, there's some of the points here. If you look at his saddle muscle, you know what I mean, he gets trapped up in the neck a lot. Yeah. A lot of dogs get trapped up in the neck. That's from running around, you know, fairly tight bends. Yeah. So you try and take the trap nerve out of his neck. Mm-hmm. You look that he hasn't got any trapness down the lower back, and it comes down to his TFL muscle, where when dogs are stretching, if the sand was loose, they could do a TFL muscle.
So that dog you were stretching there, he had a little bit of a niggle.
He had a niggle just on the spine of his back there, which obviously took it out of it.
How important is it to do that on a daily basis?
Well, obviously, if you don't check them each day and you run then again without checking that up, that niggle, obviously he's feeling that when he's going around, so he'll actually do some other trouble. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because he'll lead to bigger things. So all you got to do, like, you know, you'd have to, you know, to go through all these muscles and the skeleton of the dog, like, well, you know, I know a little bit about it because I'm at it from 67.
They're pretty complex animals, aren't they?
Like, I would describe animals at the moment, they're like spiders on 4 legs, because they run at 40 miles an hour and they are very feeble. The dog that I actually achieved more with was a dog called Larkill Jim. He was a brilliant dog. He actually was of a sire from Australia, which was the best dog that was ever reared in Australia, a dog called Brett Lee. Now, he was raced in Ireland, done no good, and the late Pat Whelan, which was a great man, Pat asked me would I have him, see could I get anything out of him. And he was with a top trainer in Ireland that won 2 Irish derbies, so he came over anyhow. And because me being a one-man band with a small kennel, he obviously took to it. And we went to Wimbledon with him. The first night he won there at 10-1 with us. I said to Pat, I'm going to enter this dog for the derby. He said, you're stone mad. He said, you're mental. He said, he's not good enough. So anyhow, I said, I'll pay the money. It was £300 to enter the dog. So I paid the money anyhow. We ended up winning 6 rounds of it and got to the semi-final. Well, he's with me since he was 9 months, this fella. And if Anne was walking him at Towerster now, he'd only be looking where I am.
Yeah, confused.
How did you win your toe? If I tried to do that now, it wouldn't happen. So
He's lifting him up now, is it? Look,
he's all right.
you're back.
So he's up there now, and we can check his toenails. We'll give him a quick manicure.
Happy?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Otherwise you'd
Be in pain.
well you'd go into the quick.
Yeah.
So I. Right. That's his manicure.
What weight is he now?
He should be about 33.2.
Very good.
That's his weight.
Great boy, aren't you? Lovely fella. And can you take a dog that isn't running that well, isn't that fast? Can you turn him into a quicker dog, or can you turn him into a stronger dog?
Well, it's happened. I got a dog called Anchor Bay Piper. He was a dog that ran on the bags racing. Now is not as good as the ordinary racing. I got the dog, and I actually win 19 opens on the bounce with him.
So, Seamus, explain a little bit about the diet of the greyhound. You're some lovely food here. It's starting to make me feel hungry.
That's
a bit of chicken here.
Yeah. Dinner most days every day I boil a chicken for them.
So tell us about the beef here. What you do with that? Bit of spaghetti bolognese maybe?
No, that goes in raw. What we use a special diet. It's an Australian formula. It's actually weighed by the kilogram. So you're feeding a dog that's 36 kilogram or a dog that's 27. You feed them by the weight. I weigh all my food.
Okay, so it's a very specific diet. It's a very
it's a very controlled diet.
Yeah.
It's controlled. Now with the Australian formula, you can't use too much meat because it breaks down the diet. But I mix a nice bit of beef in with them, and it gives them more of an appetite.
Do you cook that off first? Do you?
No, I give them raw because a lot of dogs want raw instead of boiled. They're more in the raw, more vitamin in the raw than when you boil it out. So natural, then I put a cup of the chicken soup in with every one of them. Mm-hmm. The evening before they'd probably race, I would give them pasta because pasta, it's high energy.
Well, the diet is awful similar to a human's diet and a sportsman's diet.
The diet would be like an athlete because greyhounds are athletes, the same as athletes. I might eat whatever I like, but if you couldn't feed a greyhound whatever he likes, you have to feed him because he's an athlete. He's running at 40 miles an hour.
Well, we're going to go outside now and take a look at some of the dogs running.
We have a lot of young dogs, and we have one now that we're hopefully will get the holiday money the weekend with. That's that's been said before, but I've a nice dog now. Paul Hennessy actually bought him for me. He's a dog called Rantum Ace, right? So he's running this weekend actually at Towester. Now, he'll probably have won or lost by the time this show goes out. But the track we're running at, actually, I designed it and I did the plans for it. So it's the most modern track in the UK. It's the safest track in the UK. And it's the only track that runs 8-dog racing. I'm 71 now. I hope I'll be able to keep going like I'm 80 anyhow, because this new track is giving me a new lease of life. The grandchildren are very involved in it. We got, Frankie Gaughan and Patrick and young Tommy Liston. He's only 4 and he actually can handle any dog I got. Joseph is my other grandson. Them lads are interested. Will they follow on the tradition? I do not know at the moment, but it's a lovely game. Wouldn't swap it for the world. So
Many happy years of it.
Many happy years, and hopefully there'll be a few more. I would love to win the Derby, but every man in Ireland and England is saying it's like someone won a gold medal at the Olympics. You know what I mean? But it might not happen, but at least we give it a try.
Which one? I'm going into the first.
That's Random Ace with us up on his bed.
Okay.
You seen Tommy Liston today holding him. Racing in the third one. In there.
Here?
Yeah.
Now, here you go, Grace. Well, many thanks there to Seamus for inviting us along there to his home in Pinner, and I never realised how much care and attention goes into keeping those lovely animals. We're going to take a break right now, but do come back to us for the second half of the show. You're very welcome back to the show. We're here at the Mall Galleries here in the heart of central London, only a few hundred yards from Buckingham Palace, for the Art of a Nation exhibition, which is exhibiting some of the very, very best of the amazing AIB collection. Lewis, tell us a little bit more about the Mall Galleries.
Well, Mall Galleries was set up 43 years ago. It's part of a charity called the Federation of British Artists. So it's unusual here in London because it is actually a visual arts charity rather than a commercial art gallery. And it was set up by a group of art societies, many of whom go back almost 180 years, so that they could have their annual exhibitions in a central London location. We're actually here on the Mall, which is right plumb centre of London, just up the road from Buckingham Palace, Trafalgar Square, so we've got a wonderful central location.
And the exhibition here today, tell us a bit more about that.
Well, The Art of a Nation is an exhibition of 71 works, all selected from the collection formed by the Allied Irish Banks going back into about 1980 when they moved into their new corporate headquarters. But it is an unusual corporate collection. There are lots of corporate collections around the world. What's unusual about this collection is the quality and the depth that they set out to achieve right at the outset. So instead of just buying contemporary art, which a lot of big banks and insurance companies do, they decided to set out from the outset to form a high quality historical collection. Now, they got about 3,000 works, and those works, after the incidents of 2008 and the economic crisis therein, were then acquired for the nation. We set out to select a number of those, which we could project here in London to give people a much broader understanding of the visual arts of the Republic of Ireland.
Tell us about how you chose those works.
With difficulty. It was quite a task because the collection is already spread out over different parts of Ireland. So we went to Cork, we went to Limerick, Maynooth, and obviously Dublin, where the works are scattered around, and some of them are in museums, some of them are in offices. So it was quite a Herculean task, just reaching out and trying to find the right works. But I had two curators, Nicholas Ushwood and Anthony Lester, who've done a fabulous job selecting these 71 works. And we did set out deliberately to choose works not just of great quality, but works which tell the story of Ireland. And it was not that difficult to find works, it was much more difficult to leave out works.
And tell us about the involvement of the Crawford Gallery in Cork.
Well, Crawford have been extremely fortunate to now be the home for some 39 of the works from the AIB collection, and they're on permanent loan there. It's a great gallery. And I think the AIB collection within that gallery, which is good enough as it is probably the high point of that whole gallery. And we've been very fortunate to steal off their walls something like 21 of their works.
And we're going to take a little walk around and have a look at some of your favourite works. So can you talk us through some of those?
Well, I chose this work by Letitia Hamilton because it shows just what Irish artists travelling to France discovered when they experienced post-impressionism. Now, you can see that it's extremely broad brushwork, very muted palette, use of a palette knife, all the tricks of post-impressionist France. But she's then brought those back to County Mayo and painted this beautiful scene of Clew Bay. It's very simple, and yet it's very dramatic and very immediate in its spontaneity. It kind of bubbles and with vivacity.
Tell us about this one here.
Well, first of all, it's interesting that actually 35% of the works in this exhibition are by women artists. And that's extraordinarily large percentage. It wasn't any kind of gender bias. It just turns out that Ireland has produced many, many great women artists. And here's one that is a complete surprise to any London gallery visitor. Mainie Jellett has produced this work, which on the face of it looks rather cubist. It looks influenced by someone like Picasso or Juan Gris or Braque. But actually, if you look deeper into the picture, look at the composition, it's much more lyrical. It has a softness about it. It's less intense, less brutal, unlike Picasso or Braque. She hasn't slapped on newspaper vicious words. It's serene, it's lyrical, and it's very literary. And it's a wonderful composition by an artist who's got enormous merits and qualities. It's a superb painting by Melanie Jellett.
I can well imagine that the art world, when they see something like this at that particular time, it would have been a little bit unusual at the time, I can well imagine.
It would have been very unusual. I mean, at this period in time, around the 1920s, 1930s, and just beginning 1940s, Irish artists were experimenting with modernism, different guises of modernism. It could be something which is very figurative. It could be something which is surrealistic. In this case, it's early abstractionist. Well, the first thing to say about this painting is that there isn't a single work by Sean Keating in any UK public collection, so it's a real surprise to people to see a work of this quality. The second thing to say is that actually Sean Keating studied with Sir William Orpen, who exhibited with the New English Art Club, that it still exhibits here at the Mal Galleries. It is, on the face of it, a fairly academic work, a representational work, as you can see, showing 3 freedom fighters at rest during the War of Independence and painted 1921. But actually, its real significance is, of course, its political drama. The composition is wonderful, laconic figures sitting back there relaxing during the middle of the day, but the political drama is intense. And the reason why Keating is such an important figure is because he was able to convey Irish nationalism in a way that nobody else had been able to do. So it's an immensely important historical document, as well as being a very fine painting.
You're originally from Tuam, County Galway, and you've been studying Irish art for the last number of months. Yeah, tell us a bit more about what you've been saying to us earlier on. There's a picture behind us, and there's a very interesting story you have with that.
Yes, I've been doing some research into the life of my father. He was born in 1912 and died in 1958. And he was a solicitor. He lived in Tuam all his life. But he was also a founder member of the Tuam Art Club and an amateur artist. And he and the other members of the art club organised some exhibitions in Tuam during the 1940s. Many of the artists whose work is exhibited here today had work on show in Tuam during the 1940s. But what I find particularly exciting is the fact that this painting behind me, Landscape, County Wicklow by Evie Hone, a painting of that name was on sale in Tuam for £30 in 1948.
I can only imagine what it's worth now. And tell us a bit more about your dad. Your dad was involved in arts in Tuam.
His name is Jonathan O'Connell, and as I say, he was a solicitor. He was born in 1912. He was one of those very talented men. He was also the musical director of St. Charlotte's Choral Society, and they performed various operettas during the 1930s and 40s again. He became a member of the town commissioners. He represented Ireland, and well, first of all Tuam, on the Association of Municipal Authorities of Ireland, and he also represented Ireland at some international conferences too. So he was very much involved in the life of Tuam.
And a great love of the arts. I never realised there was such a I never realised there was such a history attached to Tuam with the arts.
I think that it has been pretty well forgotten about until I started doing some research a few years ago. In 1944, the exhibition seemed to expand somewhat. Father Jack Hanlon, who's not represented here, but he exhibited some paintings in 1944, and there was a painting by Leo Whelan of Archbishop Walsh, who was the patron of the club. But what was very exciting about 1944 was that there were two paintings entitled Venetian Scene by Canaletto, which had been lent to the Tuam Art exhibition.
Peter, we're here in the Mall Galleries in the heart of London for this amazing exhibition. You're the director of the Crawford Galleries in Cork. Tell us a bit more about the Crawford Galleries.
Well, the Crawford Gallery is a national cultural institution, which is a very grand title, but what it means is in fact we're state-funded, so we're one of the only state-funded major museums outside of Dublin City, so that does make us quite significant. We're in Cork City, in the centre of the city. The building is fabulous, and at the centre is a wonderful sculpture cast collection housed in specially built sculpture galleries, and this cast collection of sculptures came actually to Cork in 1819 from just where we're standing, because these sculptures were housed in Carlton Palace, and the Mall Galleries are on the site of where Carlton Palace once stood. These Greco-Roman casts, originally from the Vatican Museum, include works like Laocoon and Discobolus and so on, and they formed the nucleus of an art collection then that grew and moved to this custom house, which is the Crawford Gallery now, in 1825. So we are the oldest public art museum in Ireland. Another gem in the collection are the 39 works from the Allied Irish Bank AIB collection that were transferred to the Crawford some years ago, and which have been having pride of place in our galleries ever since, and indeed which are here on display in the Mall Galleries today.
And 17 of those are here today.
17 of the 39 are here, and they've been placed in context with the works from the AIB Bank Centre collection, which is more accented towards the contemporary, late 20th century and contemporary. So the works have been, they're under the mantle of the AIB collection, and as such, it's one of the best art collections in Ireland, and clearly, as you can see today, it's one of the best art collections, I think, anywhere in the world, representing a nation.
And how is the exhibition here today, and it's running for the next few weeks, how significant is that within the world of art?
In terms of its significance, this is the first real substantial exhibition of Irish art to have been held in London in over 30 years, which is pretty incredible when you think about it. There have been wonderful isolated exhibitions, and many artists from Ireland show in London, but in terms of a collective exhibition that tries to, create with a broad sweep, encompass a whole century of history, art, politics and society, this is something that has really been a long time coming, and it's wonderful to see it here. So well done AIB and the Mall Galleries.
Well, many thanks there to Lewis McNaught, the director of the Mall Galleries, for inviting us along here today. If you'd like to contact the show, send an email to ian@irishtv.ie, and you can also find us on Facebook and on Twitter. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have right now, but do come back to us next week when we'll be out and about in the UK.